Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
Howdy, y'all. Red O'Loughlin here. We're on my favorite show, my show, Talking Heads, on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And today I'm covering a topic that is of immense value to me from many, many ways. We'll talk about those when we get to them. So let's get into the slides. Let me get them loaded up here real quick. Here's the first one. Okay, Aging Sucks. Well, kind of a strange title, little humor, but I think everybody agrees in general, aging sucks. Now, the word sucks maybe not the best word in the world, but I think everybody understands it. But you take the Navy SEALs, they have a slogan, embrace the suck. It's going to be bad no matter what. You might as well embrace it, get as much out of it as you can do. But I'm not looking at it from that way. I'm looking at the fact, hey, it's bad. It's things that we don't know about, and it's just going to happen to us. So what I want to get into today is what nobody explains about getting older in the context. We're getting older, but we don't know why. We're live streaming on a number of different channels, Amazon Fire, E360 TV, YouTube, many channels on YouTube, a couple of different channels on YouTube. Social media, I have 2 simulcasts going on today on my Facebook pages, Android TV, just lots and lots of places. Everything I do on this show is for awareness and education. My website is redolaughlin.com, red like the color, R-E-D, O'Loughlin, O-L-A-U-G-H, L-I-N, redolaughlin.com. You can find my websites, my blogs, my videos, my books. Everything is available on that site. If you want to get in touch with me, call me on the phone or email me. Those are my 2 primary ways of contact. Okay, aging sucks. We're explaining why we're growing old. All of the shows with regard to Talking Heads can be found on USA Global TV on YouTube. The live versions, the archived ones, that's the primary place to go if you want to catch something new that's coming up or catch something that we've done in the past. I look at myself as root cause analysis. I spent time in my corporate world, the taproot investigator, looking at, well, why did things fail? And I did a lot of reliability analysis on downhole tools in the oil industry as we're manufacturing and what causes them to fail. And if they fail, are they failing in the best way possible? And when you start looking at, well, what causes a failure? Well, if you address that cause, then generally speaking, you can fix a problem. Well, I took that same philosophy and started looking at it inside our bodies. Okay, what's going on there when something fails for whatever reason? What can we do about it? Well, I look at it at the cellular level from a biological, from a chemical perspective. And I want to take that information and provide it to people that can act on. Basically, they can say, hey, doc, what about this? So you have something of value, you have some awareness, you have a little bit of education, but you take that to a professional and says, how can this help me? So, but I like to focus on what helps and what makes things worse. I consider myself an author of decision support manuals for aging, because that's where most of my stuff is at, longevity, age-related diseases. I'm a researcher. Never been in the medical or pharmaceutical fields. My first degree is in chemistry. I got 5 academic degrees, a bunch of professional certifications, primarily in the areas of quality, reliability, and logistics, mostly in the engineering sciences associated with that. Spent over 30 years in the Navy, aviator, retired as a captain, Been to a whole slew of countries, got an invitation to Vietnam and Bosnia at the beginning and end of my career. Why do I want cause and effect relationships? Because if you treat the cause, you can probably fix the problem. But if you're treating symptoms, the symptoms may go away, but the cause may not. So it just sort of depends. But I think it's best to treat the cause if you can. Married 57 years last year, 2 kids, 3 grandkids, and my great grandson will be 2 years old this weekend. Best-selling author of a number of books, published over 4 dozen books for other people, distinguished Toastmaster, lots and lots of articles published in LinkedIn, a lot more on my website. International TV host. Last year, 2025, I was the number 3 TV host on the network. And this past year, I was the most valuable team member on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Aging Sucks, Explaining Growing Old. 2 books I have that are written on the joy of ageless health and longevity secrets for healthy aging. Touch peripherally and in some cases right on the mark. But the book I'm writing right now, Aging Sucks, is going to is going to be in addition to Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging. When I wrote that one several years ago, things were kind of there. This did this, but now we know a whole lot more about it than we ever did before. So that's the book I'm looking at upgrading. Disclaimer: everything I talk about is for education and informational purposes only. Does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, treatment. Anything I reference on here is strictly in a research context. Please consult your qualified professional, medical, pharmaceutical person if you have anything at all about your health. Okay, I think you're ready to start. Okay, first, my new book coming out is Aging Sucks. Don't know the subtitle yet. All I know is the title. I expect to release it this summer, hopefully get out a little bit earlier, but that's my plan. Secondly, I'm initiating a seminar series, probably Zoom, that I'm going to cover the what and the how of aging. We talk here about why things age. We talk a little bit about the what. We really don't get too much detail into the how, the grassroots level. What can I do to do something? So that's what I want to do in the seminars that I'm going to be coming up with very soon. My first episode of this series today, Aging Doesn't Have to Suck, basically, because we want to look at what causes, where's the start of aging happen at? And it's long before disease, long before anything. I mean, in your 30s, you're already experiencing aging, but it's just not aware of it. So we all understand that aging sucks. Yeah, but why? That's the question that I think most people want to know. So some of us think aging equals disease, and then you die. Well, and for some people that's true, but not for all. Most of us, and I'm going to say literally almost every single one of us, unless you're an expert in the field of longevity, we don't know why or how we age. We were never taught. It's just not one of those things. Now we're seeing lots of data on social media and other places. We have pop culture influencers that say, take this pill, do this, supplements. We have what people consider to be disease preventive medicines. We have a lot of theories that keep changing over time. Lots and lots and lots of things out there. But do they actually get into what's happening in the body at the lowest level where you actually can do something about it? So why not be able to live longer and enjoy life a lot better? Our systems, I'm talking about, if you look at a car, you got hydraulic systems and electrical systems and fuel systems and pneumatic. There's lots of systems. In our bodies, we have the same thing. Many, many systems are operating at the same time. But as you get older, they have a tendency to degrade a little bit. We lose a little bit of muscle mass. We lose a little bit of heart integrity. We lose the gut biome. Just lots of reasons happen over time. For years and years and years, I used to write about, teach about the fact that inflammation, chronic low-level inflammation in the body is literally the cause of about 98% of all disease. You get in there, you get mutations, things build up over time. But when I start this real deep dive into disease and aging and health, I think it's not the root cause, but it's certainly the cause that takes over and makes things happen. So my thinking was wrong. And aging is not the absence of disease, because you can die and just be in perfect health and things happen. Some people consider it to be what they call in the business compression of morbidity. In other words, your you're doing well into your 50s, your 60s. All of a sudden, 70s, you start having some problems. 80s, you can't even get out of bed for all practice. And then all of a sudden, boom, you just fall off the edge of the earth, and that's it. It's not. It's not a compression of morbidity either. Uh, some people function very, very well at 105 years of age. Uh, but as you start getting older, and I've seen this in a lot of people, they get up in their mid 90s, upper 90s, and they want to die, but they want to die quickly. And again, lots of reasons for that. We're not going to go into the psychological aspects of aging, but everybody has a different story. But when you get right down to it from a biological, from a chemical perspective, aging is a progressive failure at the cellular energy level in our bodies. We're talking about inside the cells at the mitochondria. This happens long before we ever see any symptoms of disease whatsoever. Our bodies need information. In other words, the cell sends out information through a number of different mechanisms, and it goes to, let's say your heart or your lung or your gallbladder or your kidney, and the information is transferred. You have a communications that goes back and forth. We've talked about the vagus nerve in previous presentations. So the organ talks to the brain says do this. So 80% of the stuff is going to the brain subconscious mind keeps everything in order. Okay, and then it sends a little communication down. Okay, do this. And so our bodies are constantly in communicating and maintaining some level of instruction to do their job. And so when we start breaking up that communication, either through DNA is not working properly, or epigenetics, the DNA is working properly, but it's not actually being implemented. In other words, we look at epigenetics, the genes turn on and off for a certain reason, but our lifestyle choices, our diet, our sleep, our stress, they may make a gene turn on or off the opposite direction. So there's a lot of things epigenetically that happen. Genomic instability. We have too many mutations going on at one time. Our immune system can't handle it. We have an epigenetic shift. In other words, now more things are being turned off or on depending on what's going on. So just lots of things, and they're all interraveled. But one of the biggest ones is the fact that our bodies can repair itself. We get the message, say, from your kidney, goes to the brain. Okay, activate, repair. It goes down there. The message never gets back to the kidney to implement a repair mechanism in that particular cell or that particular part of the body. So our repairs don't happen, we get older. Our body's instruction manual for health is failing. They're there, but nobody can read it. We don't know what's going on. So we have cells that are supposed to be telling you do this, but we have other cells that are not necessarily responding the way they're supposed to. So cellular communication is becoming a major problem. At this point in time, energy failure is a very close second. Which one is really the cause? Is it the lack of communications or the inability to communicate? Or is it I don't have enough energy in order to make that communication happen? You're right there on a flip a coin, I think. And you look at a lot of other people and say, what's the cause of aging? Well, it's this or this or this. I think there's too many of them out there to say this is the number one, concentrate on it, because you'd be sub-optimizing everything. So again, we can address many of these things with very simple lifestyle choices. But our mitochondria can enable or limit our body's function. That's the energy supplier of the body. So our mitochondria provide energy to do everything. Repairs in the body require, adenosine triphosphate, energy. Autophagy, that's the cleanup operations in all our cells. That requires energy. Our immune response requires energy. Our brain function requires energy. Literally every single function in our body requires energy to do. And when the energy is available, it happens. When it's not available, it may happen a little bit, not fully. But when it's not there, and nothing happens. Aging. It's literally becoming an energy crisis in our body. We don't have the energy wherewithal. It's not that we don't have a budget that says, okay, let me go ahead and pull it out of reserves. There's no reserve. You've used everything up. So the crisis is the fact that our energy levels are down here. We're not producing any more, and for whatever reason, then aging really starts to take a major step forward and grab a hold of our entire being. Inflammation still plays a major part in the aging process, but I don't consider it to be the primary cause I did years ago. But there's a feedback loop, because once that inflammation starts attacking the whole body level, then we start getting feedback just as if anything else is happening. That feedback loop is supporting it or whatever. So my look at it today is the fact that inflammation, I can take a what they call a C-reactive protein test, blood test. And it'll tell you how much inflammation is in the body, and that's important. It won't tell you where, but if my typical readings are generally below 0.25, almost unreadable, some years unreadable. So you end up, okay, if my reading was a 10 or a 15 or a 20, that's bad. Anything over about a 3 to a 5, depending, can be an issue. But if you have a lot of information in the body, it's attacking everything at once. And so you're kind of overloading your immune system, you're infiltrating everything in the body. It becomes a major issue. So it's not the spark, but it's like a forest fire just taking over everything. It's everywhere. So that primary cause, yes, it can be once you get to that level. It's maybe the next cause. Let's think of it that way. You get the thing started, there's a little starter fire, and then all of a sudden everything kind of erupts. And then once it gets to inflammation and really gets a foothold, then you start getting into oxidative stress and tumors and all sorts of other issues that become health issues, disease producers. Disease, again, begins at the cellular level. Our DNA is inundated 24/7, free radical damage here, there, and yonder, always constantly occurring. Sleep, wake, whatever, eating, drinking, DNA damage all throughout the body our entire lives. Our immune system generally takes pretty good care of it. It goes in there, makes the repairs where it's supposed to. That's why you need that ATP from your mitochondria for the DNA to be repaired and all those other things that are going on. So, but our bodies handle it through the immune system, but we also can provide additional support through the nutrients that we eat. So if I'm eating a lot of berries, fruits, vegetables that have a lot of antioxidants in it, that antioxidant goes down and helps the immune system where it's making the repair. I have a free radical that's going in. A free radical basically is a molecule missing an electron. And so it goes down and it hits another electron that's stable, literally rips electron off. So the free radical now becomes a stable molecule. It's a happy camper. But the one that it hit, that ripped an electron off of, now becomes a free radical. So it's looking for an electron somewhere. So it's kind of like a never-ending chain. But sometimes we can do like vitamin C. Vitamin C provides, I think, 5 or 6, I think, additional electrons so that it can bounce on and provide more than one electron over time in order to stabilize that molecule. But we have other ones in our bodies. PQQ, pearloquinolinquinone, is in our brain. It can provide 25,000 reiterations of that one molecule being able to provide the electron needs to reduce inflammation. Lots and lots of things are going on in our bodies, but again, we don't know about it. What can we do? So when we can't protect ourselves, disease begins. Again, low-level cellular inflammation, over time, oxidative stress. Disease happens when our systems in our body start to break down, either through energy or communication or a number of other factors. So we don't know what we don't know. Therefore, aging sucks. But if we did know a little bit and we can take some action, maybe that's a good thing. So health is not the absence of disease, although we kind of think it is. If I'm healthy, I don't have a disease. But health is an entity totally outside of that. There's certain parameters. It's not dependent on disease not to be present to be healthy. Disease has its own hallmark pathways, and they all similarly start, and then all of a sudden this one branches off into respiratory issues. This one branches off to dementia. This one branches off to kidney issues. So the pathways start the same in disease, but they branch differently depending on what aspect the disease is taking. So, but health is really the presence of the resilient systems that we have in our body. I know I have the ability to communicate. I have the cell to cell. I have the ability to repair. I have the ability to lots and lots of things that are going on in our bodies that provide the right level of nutrients. So if I have the resiliency of systems and they're present and they're working, that is really and truly the health we're talking about. That's not aging. That's not disease. That's health. Totally separate, distinct entity is health. So, and if we look at it that way, it's a different way of thinking. We think, okay, I'm not healthy, I have a disease. I'm not healthy, I'm getting older. And that's not necessarily the way we should be thinking. My second degree, master's degree, was in systems engineering. and we approach things from a systems perspective differently than we approach things literally. But our systems have controls, and those systems, if we don't know what those controls are, we ignore them. It just things can get out of control, yes, very easily. So we start thinking cellular health repair. Now we actually have the ability to make a distinct impact on disease prevention, on health improvement, and on aging reduction or deceleration. The molecular level in the body, the cell, that mitochondria, that needs attention. So if we ignore our molecular health, we actually increase the risk of a number of different things. I listed a couple, three of them here. Genomic instability. In other words, our genomes are fairly stable, but if we're not providing the healthy mechanisms there, then the genome has a tendency to wander, and it's not wandering in a good way. So it's not producing what it needs to. Mitochondrial dysfunction, you're not getting the energy out you need. Also, proteostasis, cellular senescence, aging of the cells, increase in zombie cells. Lots and lots and lots of things are happening at the molecular level. All of these things here are considered hallmarks of aging, because if you're not paying attention to them at the cellular level and taking action to do them, then, or to address them, then we start seeing sagging skin, can't see, can't hear, wrinkles, all sorts of things begin to show up in the mirror. Okay, so when those increase, now we start seeing hallmarks of disease increase, because the aging, lack thereof, open the door for new pathways to occur. My inflammation, which was under control earlier, now becomes chronic. Insulin resistance, which was under control earlier, now becomes an issue. Inflammation now becomes oxidative stress, which really starts to attack the different organs. You may have a tumor forming in your bladder that it may take decades before it actually becomes a problem. But at the cellular level, even if you had the equipment to detect it, we don't even know it's there or where to look, or even how to interpret the scans. So as it gets larger, yeah, we probably have the equipment to isolate at that level and see something, but we don't know where to look at. And then all of a sudden it becomes a bit of a problem. It's starting to affect other things. Now we go talk to the doctor and you find out, well, you have a tumor the size of a baseball. But we didn't know that 6 months ago. So that whole thing, that oxidative stress, becomes a major issue, and all started with inflammation. Immune dysregulation. 80% of your gut is your immune system. Everything that you eat and drink goes through there and supports that, all the nutrients. So if the immune system is not working, it's not making the repairs that are needed at your DNA level. Now you're starting to see more mutations happening. Something simple to address, but something that we don't think about. Impaired autophagy. For those people who watch my show, autophagy is one of my favorite words. I do a 72-hour plus fast every month, primarily for autophagy, cleaning the cells up, getting all the crap and junk out of the cells that accumulate over time, repairing, recycling the stuff that needs to be done. So you keep your cells healthy, they're going to operate a lot longer and a lot better. So autophagy is that process that generally starts at about 18 hours and is about 100% at about 72 hours. Most of us don't fast more than 18 hours, or if we do, it's a one-time thing. But fasting is probably one of the healthiest things you could possibly do, not only for your health, but for aging. Endothelial dysfunction, mitochondrial failure, not for all diseases, but for quite a few. So we see failure modes are very, very similar in most diseases. I have a problem here with the immune system. Then I have a problem because the cells are too overloaded and they can't operate efficiently. I end up with all these other things that are happening. It's just all part of the pathways that come up when we start looking at the hallmarks of disease. It's a topic I have not talked about yet, but it will be one of the ones I do talk about here very shortly. Okay, let's talk about hallmarks of health, just at the 30,000-foot level. Metabolic flexibility, the ability of our metabolism to adjust to whatever is going on. So as you lose 5 pounds, your metabolism adjusts, and it makes that next 5 pounds even harder to get because the metabolism has adjusted. Our metabolic flexibility is a big deal, and it's something that's in there. We're programmed. In the old days, eons ago, if you were a hunter-gatherer, you had to get your food. If you didn't have food, well, your metabolic flexibility is what kept you going, because sometimes you didn't eat for days, sometimes you had more than enough. Our repair capability. How fast, how effectively can we repair the cellular damage in our body, whether those cells are part of our lungs, our brain, or our gut, or anywhere else? Stress adaptability. We all have stress. It happens all the time. Some people, it rolls right off their other people. They reach out and grab a hold of it, don't let go. But stress adaptability, particularly at the cellular level, becomes a major deal. And so if I'm looking at improving my health, I need to be able to reduce that stress at that lower level. Our signaling clarity, in other words, am I getting the right signal at the right place at the right level? A lot of times there's a lot of noise in that signal. You can't quite decipher what it's saying. What do you say? What did I didn't? I mean, I have hard hearing anyway. I'm always asking, what did you say? And so that clarity of signaling is very, very important at the cellular level. Energy sufficiency. We've talked about the ATP coming out of the mitochondria. You need a certain amount of ATP to make whatever healthy aspect of that function happen. Our bodies need a fully operational network. Just like you'd have a Wi-Fi system that's operating. Well, if the tower is down for maintenance, or if it's damaged with the weather or something, or it's iced over, our bodies need a fully functional operating system in order to maintain our health. And it begins with the mitochondrial level in the body. If I'm not producing the energy I need, I can't maintain a healthy body. We don't typically think about systems when we think about aging. We think about dementia. I'm thinking about my heart. I'm thinking about kidneys. I'm thinking about an individual, linear thinking at the level of whatever organ I'm having a problem with. Maybe it's sarcopenia. I don't have the muscle strength to lift anything up again. Things happen over time. So we think about, it's just that aspect of our health, our body, not the system that supports it. So when I look at the hallmarks of health, aging, and disease, and I lump them all together into one, they fail a little bit faster if I don't have that mitochondrial ATP required to operate everything. So yeah, maybe today it's 100%, tonight it's 95%. If I'm operating that 95, 100%, probably get a long time before I have a problem. But if I'm going from 95% down to 75% and then back up to 80, not fully functional. I can't stop the aging process. It's going to happen. However, if I replenish the ability of that mitochondria to provide that energy I need, I can slow down the aging process. I can slow down or stop the disease process. I can improve my health a lot. Aging is biology. It's real, but it's not mandatory. If I know what's causing me to age, and I say, okay, fine, let's just take a real simple one. If I eat an extra 20 blueberries a day, every day, that's a major improvement because I'm not eating blueberries on a regular basis. The phytonutrients in that provide a certain level of health benefit, antioxidants, etc. So I can do something. It's biological, but the aging is not mandatory. I can actually do something about it. Can we stop it? Can't stop the aging, no. We can certainly look 20 years younger, feel 20 years younger, but I can't stop the fact that in 20 years, I'm going to be 20 years older than I now feel or look. Nothing helps. Well, that's not necessarily true either. There's a lot of things that help, and we've talked about them quite a bit here. Your lifestyle choices, your diet, your exercise, your sleep, your stress management, all of those things improve the ability to not age as fast, to maintain a better health, and to prevent or slow down disease. So all of them work together. So our bodies can protect and repair themselves, but it always boils down to, do I have enough energy and enough communications in order to make that happen? So we have the ability to fight aging, slow it down. So over time, our lack of attention, we don't know, our lack of attention suppresses those capabilities. So if my diet changes, I'm not managing my stress, my sleep gets terrible, I'm not exercising, all of those things gradually attenuate our body's ability to take care of itself. Simple as that. May not be totally reversible. Yeah, that's true. But we can, as I said in the last slide, we can decelerate it a little. So maybe let's say if nothing was done, maybe you have a 10-year horizon. Maybe that 10 years, 5 years of it is not really good quality of life. And that's important. You start getting to be a little bit older. You don't want to have be dependent on someone else. You don't want to be stuck in a home someplace. So you want to be able to make sure that the things that are going on can take you not only to a lifespan of a healthy adult, but maybe beyond, but also leaving you with the ability to take care of yourself and enjoy life. We're not replying is wrong. We're not relying on medicine. Here's a pill that's going to take care of it. You start taking this pill and that pill, and there's another one. They start interfacing with each other, interfering with each other. And we're trying to correct something that was lost that could be done by food or exercise or stress management or breathing or a number of other functions. But we lost the function that we could have corrected earlier. Now we're taking a medicine because that medicine is going to fix that particular problem. It's like this GLP-1 weight loss things you hear about, very expensive medicines, but there's so many GLP-1 natural options out there, but we don't even think about incorporating because we don't know. Every repair operation in our body requires mitochondrial energy. But if we don't have enough energy to give, in other words, I don't have a budget that when I run a little bit low, I can go, okay, let me take another $2,000 out of savings. I have a budget that just barely meets my normal daily activities. Now all of a sudden something gets challenged, disease, injury, trauma, stress, and I don't have enough energy to counter it. I can't make the repair. I start growing older. I start becoming more frail. Lifestyle choices, fasting, exercise, sleep, all affect our metabolic health. Stress management is super critical because it affects, generates hormones, cortisol, and other. It just affects so many aspects of our body. It's not like one thing does that, boom. No, it affects literally our brain, our gut, and the rest of our body. But when you look at each one of the fasting, the exercise, the sleep, the stress, all of them are part of the solution. They're a systems approach. Just because I'm getting good sleep doesn't mean I'm going to prevent disease, slow down aging, and have great health. I need to have a combination of literally every single aspect of my lifestyle choices I make on a daily basis in order to affect a systems approach to conquering the little things that are going on that need constant attention. It's not talking about living forever. We are talking about failing more slowly. So we're talking about aging sucks. Well, if I can slow down the suck, I can slow down a lot of things. It becomes bearable. It becomes doable. I can live with it. We accept things we don't know. That's just normal. It's just decline is normal in life. But we accept them. We don't have to. And that's part of what today's program, from the 30,000 foot level, and then the future episodes that I'm coming up with, we'll be talking about a lot of those little bitty issues. And that's what I want to talk about in my book also. So we operate basically from a mission of omission. We don't know. We have too many blind spots in our health. We literally don't know what's going on and what we can do about them. So aging increases, disease increases because the blind spots are there and they keep getting bigger. But if I were to think from a systems perspective, instead of linearly, my gut hurts today, I have a headache, whatever the problem is, we think, okay, it's a brain issue, take an aspirin. It's a gut, take an whatever for your heartburn. We just think about the individual part of our body. That's the linear thinking. But we need to be thinking about everything is interconnected. I need to be addressing all of those issues at one time. And that's what my book is going to be covering. So we get a diagnosis from a doctor. They treat the symptoms, not the cause. That's our standard of care in the United States. That's the way it's always been. Doctors have a moral and a legal obligation to treat something they know about. So if you go in and they find a problem, they're going to treat that problem. Now, do you have to take the pill or do whatever? No, you don't have to. But the doctor's legal and moral obligation, if something happens to you and you take them into a court of law and they're going to say, this is what I recommended that person about this medicine, this whatever, he's off the hook. He did what the industry says this is the standard of care in our world. But the standard of care doesn't necessarily treat or address the real cause of the problem. It's just treating symptoms. So you end up with, say, pneumonia. You get it fixed. You end up with pneumonia again, get it fixed. You end up with pneumonia again, you get it fixed. So you have recurring problems, or maybe you can't get it fixed. Maybe you can just get to a level where it's not so bad. So we have a lot of issues there. A lot of these problems could be infections we catch from someone else. Okay, that's our immune system trying to prevent that. But sometimes those infections, depending on where they are, can lead to cancers and to other issues. In the U.S., cancers are thought to be a genetic disorder. However, there's certain very small minority in the United States who think it's a metabolic disorder. I think it's a metabolic disorder. I'm not a research scientist. I do a lot of research, but that's not my area of expertise. But my research from the mitochondrial level, before you start addressing issues with DNA and genetics, I think that's where the real metabolic problem comes at. But look at the recovery rates. If we're treating in the United States pancreatic stage 4, 5-year recovery rate 4%. That means that 96% of those people die because they're treating it as a genetic disorder. But we can't treat it as a metabolic disorder in the United States because that's not the standard of care. If you want to be treating your cancer as a stage 4 pancreatic cancer, you may need to go to Istanbul or somewhere else in the world where they will treat it as a metabolic disorder. Now the 5-year survival rate is about 95, 96%. Because they're treating a different thing. Maybe that'll gradually come back and take over the American philosophy, but right now it's not the way it is. 2006, there was a big study published on beta amyloid plaques as being the cause of Alzheimer's. However, they're finding out that there's a lot of plagiarism, a lot of fakeness in the slides, in the testing. And so we've been spending years addressing beta amyloid plaques as a cause of dementia, Alzheimer's. But it's not necessarily, it may be one, but it's not necessarily all of them. And it's just, again, we make mistakes, but we don't learn from them fast enough. That's part of the problem we have. Semmelweis, 1840s, he came up with this new theory. He was a baby doctor. I can't think of the name of it right in a second. Anyway, washing your hands. Back then, doctors didn't wash their hands from one delivery to the next. They still had all sorts of gunk on their hands, and they delivered the next baby and the next baby and the next one. All of those newborn deaths, a lot of deaths, a significant number of deaths. And the mere fact that he says, wash your hands between operations. And all of a sudden, newborn deaths, just plummeted. It fell out of the sky, just right, not to zero. But just the simple aspect of washing your hands was so revolutionary at that time. People didn't even think that was something that mattered. I see a lot of research today on peptides. I think that is going to be the future of medicine. I think you're going to see a lot of medical care being relegated to some level of peptide treatment. That's just me. That's what I think. So how soon will it happen? I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime. I'm almost 80. But I hope within the next 20 years that becomes the future, because you can address so many issues with that one focus on the peptides, that just so many good results are happening today because of it. But again, we're looking at incremental change. What happens this year, next year. If it was like AI, we would be seeing all sorts of things happening, but it's not. So, but use your subconscious mind to help you, to support you, to do what you need to do, because that subconscious mind will reach out, grab a hold of stuff. You think about it. Okay, what about this? What about that? Let me talk to my doctor. So hopefully we're making some inroads into your brain that will give you a better set of tools to take with you when you talk to your doctor again. We have amazing access to information all over the place. I've been telling people here lately, I've been finding more stuff on Instagram with regard to health and longevity than typically my old one was Google. Then after that, it was YouTube. And I still think YouTube is super. But I'm finding that I get more information out of Instagram. It's just not easily searchable. That's a problem. I wish it were. You just put in search bar, boom, and I can find it. Here's 3 dozen people that talk on this topic. That's not where it's at yet. I hope it does come to that. But again, don't believe on a single source. If you put something in Chat GPT and it comes up, do your due diligence. Make sure your prompt is thorough. If you ask it something and 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 you finally get the answer you think you want, ask it, what's the prompt I should have put in at the beginning to get me to where I'm at right now? And Chat GPT will give you a prompt where you don't have to go back and keep asking additional questions. I have a 2-page prompt I use all the time for mine, and I'm constantly finding stuff that Chat GPT doesn't put in my answer that I expected to see. So check things out, talk to your doctor, your pharmacist, ask good questions, know your options ahead of time. Aging sucks, but it doesn't have to. So here in the future, we're going to be talking more about aging. We're going to be talking about the details involved in it. And I'm having a book coming out here in the next 6 months that I really truly want to do a lot of justice to. The hallmarks of aging, disease, and health, and what you actually can do at the grassroots level in your life in order to make your life a much better world to live in. That being said, I'm going to leave you all and look forward to seeing you next week. Bye now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.